Yeah, so first, what you need to understand, there is difference between Redux and redux-toolkit. So Redux was the old library. I mean, it's include to use Redux. Actually, it was a little bit a pain. Why? Because you need to have a lot of boilerplate to do some action, and also you need to install a lot of library to make it really functional or do something useful. Now, after that, the developer of Redux realized that, so they developed Redux Toolkit, which is much easier comparing to Redux. So if I'm going to use this Redux Toolkit in my project, in React project, what should I do? So first, let's create a React project. So let me go here. I am in HYF-BE. I'm going to create a new project. And how can I create a new project? npm create vite at latest. I will name it Redux Toolkit. Redux Toolkit. Okay. I'm going to choose React. I'm going to choose JavaScript. That should be good. Now I need to go inside my my repo, which is this one here, Redux Toolkit. Yep, I'm going to open that. And now what I need to do, I need to just say npm I to install the dependency. I'm going to add prettier rc.json. And I will go to one of my old repo just to copy the setting. I should have something in Gate Movies. So if I go to prettier.json, I just need to copy this setting. And yeah, voila. Let me install prettier as well. So npm I -d for dev dependency, D capital, prettier. And that should be okay. I need now to add a script to my prettier just to format my code. So let me just make it similar. Go to package.json, and in here I have my script. So I need to add a new script, and this script here, it will be format prettier space -- right dot / or just dot. Now let me run npm run format. So it format my code. npm run format. Voila. Now after that, I need to get rid of some stuff. So here I'm just setting some stuff up. As usual here, I'm going to name it main. I need to fix that. So I need to go to here and replace it with main, so I don't have any error. Let me go to app.css and let me get rid of all of that. I don't need it. Let me go to main. No, main.css also get rid of all of that. I don't need all of that. And let me go to my app.jsx and get rid of all these JSX. Let me create a div and just say hello. I don't need this one for now. I don't need those. Let me convert my function declaration to arrow function. Const app, it's equal to, and I need an arrow. Voila. Now, if I run my stuff, or before I run my stuff, actually, let me install some stuff. So if I go to, if you go to your repo here and you go to week 4, let me click on this one. Let me go to week 4. And week 4, we already studied how to debug React application, testing React library. We use vtest and React library, and also React JSDOM. And here today we will study a little bit Redux Toolkit. So if I click on this one, it will open this empty file for me. So I need to install, in order to use Redux Toolkit, I need to install 2 libraries. The first library is called @redux.js/toolkit. That's the library. And I need somehow to connect my Redux Toolkit to React. And the React give me this library, which is called React Redux. So I need these 2 libraries. Again, here, there is difference between Redux alone and redux.js/toolkit, okay? So I'm just going to copy this one, and I'm going to install those as a dependency. Yeah, but that's not what I want to. Sorry for that. Let me just install them. I will also install Axios in case I needed to send a request to the backend. So I will just say npm I Axios, also as a dependency. And now I should have all the package I need currently. So I have redux.js/toolkit. I have Axios. and I have React Redux. So let me run my application, npm run dev. Voila. And let me go to this port 5173. Okay, click on this one. I'm not sure if I have any presetting here. Let's see. Windows CSS. Yeah, I have this one. So let me just copy those. Windows CSS. And let me make the body the background a little bit. No, I don't like that. Something blackish. And let me make the color something whitish. I don't like that. I think it's F1, it should be white. Let's see. 2, 1, 1. It's just so for my eyes here because I prefer to be black. That's it. Okay, fine. So what is Redux first? How can I implement it in my project? Why it's useful? Why do I need to use it? Any idea? Why do I need Redux? And when I should use Redux? Yes. Come on, guys. Even if you don't know, just guess, take a guess, it's fine. To control the state. Okay, fine. Okay. Who else? Agnieszka? Agnieszka is not here.
To control global state.
Yeah. Dinyando? Why do we need the Redux toolkit?
Global state management.
Okay, so as you know now, before when we work with multiple React project, whenever I need to pass some data, I need to pass it as a props. And sometimes it's really annoying to pass it as a prop because I need to pass it from the parent component to the child, and to the child receives this one. And we'll see also prop drilling. Now we could fix this problem using use context API, as you saw, because we already studied it as well. Now use context API is quite useful if the project is very small. But if the project is medium or large, use context, it will not be that useful. It will create a lot of, let's say, confusion. And that's why Redux toolkit is coming into place. So what does the Redux toolkit do? Well, it creates a global state. So that's my state here. We call it store. Store like that. So a store here, it will include all my state here, like that. Pieces of state actually. And here, because all my state here in the store, I can access it in any component I want to. In any component I want to, I can access it. And also, I can change the state if I want to from any component I want to. That's very useful, right? So again, my state here, or what we call the store here, it will be separated from the component. And here I can access it in any component I want to. And also, if I want to change something in the store, I need to dispatch something. We call it actions. For example, change, this is the action here, change the counter. It was 5, make it 6, for example. So if I dispatch this action from any component I want to, I can also here, of course, when I dispatch an action, we have something called reducer. Reducer is the function. So reducer, that's what you call it. I know the terminology is new. So we have something called reducer. Reducer are function which take here the action here. For example, the action I would say change the count. That's the action. Then the reducer, it will receive this action and it will go to the store and it will modify whatever needed. So in Redux toolkit, we have 3 different parts. We have the store here, as you can see. We have the action. So as the action here, for example, I want to change the count by 1 or by 10 or by 20. That's the action. And of course, whenever the action is dispatched, that means I trigger the action, it will go to the reducer, and reducer is just like the handler. It takes the action and after that go to the store and modifies the store according to the action. Is the idea clear or not? Yes, no? But, guys, if you don't tell me yes or no, I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So in Redux toolkit, or even in Redux, actually, we have 3 important parts. The first one here, I need to dispatch an action. Dispatch, that means fire. It's just like when I click on the button, I fire an event. Same idea. I need to dispatch an action. This action could be, for example, decrease the count by 1 or increase the count by 1. And after that, it will go to different reducer. And the reducer here, it will be like the handler, and it will go to the store and change the store here. So that's okay. It's a simple explanation for, very, very simple explanation for Redux Toolkit. So what you need to understand, before Redux Toolkit, we used to use Redux. Now, as I told you, Redux alone, which is another library, it's not opinionated. That means I need to write everything myself. But Redux Toolkit is more opinionated. That means the structure of my folder, I need to do according to Redux Toolkit. So what is the structure of my folder? How can I do that? Well, it's quite simple. First, I need to go to my source here. I need to create a folder. In this folder, I will name it app. Okay? So I'm gonna inside source src, and I'm creating a folder called app. And now inside this app, I'm gonna create one file called store.js. Voila. That's fine. Now I need to create another folder, and this folder, we call it features. Features like that, if I'm not mistaken. So feature like that here, and now here for each action, I need to create a different folder. I'm going to show you, of course, now an example, for example, counter, and after that, I'll show you how can also we get data from the backend, from an API, and store the data in Redux. Fine, let's go to our MD file here. I don't need you anymore. Let's go here. So what do I need to do here? First, I need to create slice. So what the hell are slice? What you need to understand that in Redux Toolkit store, the whole data is not just one unit, is not one object, no. So the store is divided into different slices. So each slice here, it's just like banana, actually not banana, it's just like an orange. So if you eat an orange, so there is different slice, right? Or an apple, there is different slice here. It's same idea here. So this store is divided into different slices. And of course, that's really good. Why? Because whenever I want to change this slice, of course, these slices are not related to each other. For example, this one could be the counter. This one could be the users. This one could be something else. So when I change, or when I want to change the counter here, I will only modify this slice of state. I'm not going to touch the other part, which is very good, because before in Redux, whenever I'm dispatching an action, the action goes through all the reducer and try to change everything depending on the action. Go through all of them, and then after that, only change depending on the reducer. So it kind of goes through all my state here. But in Redux Toolkit, as I told you, we only change the slice of the state we need only, which is very good actually, because like that here, I'm not touching the other data. I'm only changing what I need to change. Is it okay? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay, now we've seen the structure here. So first, as I told you, we go to inside source, we have app, we will create a file called store. And after that, here we have future. Now, what different future I want, what different state I want to create. For me now, I'm going to create a simple counter. And because I'm going to create a simple counter, I'm going to create another folder, and I will name it counter, just like that, counter. So everything related to the counter, it will go inside this folder here. Now, because I don't like this structure, I'm going to just add a file readme.md. Readme.md. I don't need readme.md. It's just so I can, voila, so I can see my counter like that. But I don't need that. Of course, later on, when your project is big, you will have different features. So you will have counter, you will have users, you will have whatever you want to. So that's a different slice here. Now I'm trying to create a counter, so I will create a future folder called counter. Inside counter now, I will need to create a file, and this file, by convention, we name it counter slice. So you can name it whatever, user slice, counter slice, whatever you want to do, but it ends with slice.js. Voila. And that's all I need to do. So again, because now I'm trying to create a slice of state or store, which is counter. Remember now, I will have a lot of other features, so I will not have only counter. That's why I put the counter inside its own folder. And I told you the toolkit, Our Redux toolkit is opinionated. That means the structure of data, it's better to be this way. Okay. You may see it's a little bit too much folder, but actually in large project, it make everything easy. Our project now small, that's the reason why you see there too much. So that's fine. Let's first configure our store. Now for the store, we configure it only one time, lucky for us. So how can I configure a store? Well, it's quite simple. I need to import something from Redux toolkit, which is called configure store. And then after that, I just need to declare a variable called store. It's equal to configure store. This one accept an object. And I need to pass all my reducer inside this object here, which inside. You don't know what the reducer are, don't worry about it. So the first step, I need to import what we call as a function. What was the function? What was the function? Configure. Yes, configure.
Store.
Yeah, so I'm going to just enter this configure store. And after that, I'm going to declare a variable called store. So const store, it's equal to, I will use this function, which is called configure store. Now, configure store here, it's a function. Of course, it accepts an object. And one of these objects here, or one of the property of this object is reducer, and reducer also need to be an object. We will see the reducer later on. Don't worry, what are the reducer? Whenever I create my slice, I will have reducer and then I import them here. But now let's just focus on creating our store. Okay, import, configure store. All the time you will do the same step. That's how the library work. First, I will create a folder called app. Inside app, I will create a file called store.js. We only need one store. And of course, inside this store, we have different slices, but that's only our store. Import, configure store, that's a function. It's coming from Redux toolkit. And now here, I will just say const store is equal to configure store, and configure store, if I hover over it, it take a function here. When I execute it, take a function as a parameter. I'm sorry, it take an object as a parameter, as you can see. And inside this object, we have at least one property called reducer, single one, and reducer here is our object. Now I need to export my store. So export default store. That's simple. Now, where do I need my store? Well, I need my store, actually, I need it here inside my main.jsx. Do you remember use context when we use the context and we wrap all our application with use context.provider? Yes. You remember use context hook?
Yes.
Same idea. So now here I go to my main, and here I need to import something called provider. So I'm going to import something called provider. So if I go here, provider is coming from React Redux. Okay, and I also need to import my store, but where is my store? So I need to say import store because it was default. Voila, click, oh, that's my store. So it is from ./app/store.js. Now what I need to do here, I need to wrap, what the hell is that? I don't want that, I want just a provider. Where's provider? Let me just get rid of this one and try to import the provider again. I'm not sure it was provider. Voila. Now I will take this provider. This provider is just like a React component, and I'm going to wrap my application around this guy here, which is called provider. I will render it just like a React component. So that will be opening tag, and now opening tag, and I need to add closing tag. Voila. And I need to wrap my application around this provider. Voila. Voila. Now this provider, it take, because it's like or it is an React component, it take one props. This props we call it store. So if you type store, see, it will give you the store here, and the store here I'm going to pass my store here, which I created. Store like that. Voila. So now my configuration, I created my store, and also I link my store to my React application. And that's the first step is done. Is the idea clear? I'm going quickly again through it. So first, I need to go to my source src, and I need to create a folder called app. And inside app, I need to create a file called store.js. I need to import a function which is called configure store. Before we call it create store, now they're calling it in Redux toolkit configure store. And then all I have to do, just declare a variable const store is equal to configure store. Configure store take an object as a parameter, and there is one property called reducer. It's also an object. Now it's empty. After that, I will put some stuff inside it. And I need to export it. just export my store. Now I need to go to my main JSX here. I need to import something called provider with capital P because it's a React component, and provider coming from React Redux. That's a library connecting Redux toolkit with React. And then I need to import my store, which I created. So now here I need to wrap all my application with the provider, as you can see, opening and closing tag. And this provider take one prop. This prop is called store, and I need to make it equal to my store, the store I created. Is the idea clear? Yes.
Samir, Daria sent a message. Do we need components folder for React?
Yes, we need, but I did not create component yet. Do we need component folder for React? Yes, we need. After that, I will create it, Daria, don't worry. So let me go here to component. Well, there is two approaches, to be honest, but I prefer this approach. Components like that. Voila. But don't worry, now I need to figure my slice, I need to figure my state, everything. I need to connect it, then I can go to my React app. That's fine. I created my store. So if I go to, where is it? Go to my app, store. I created my store. I configure my store. I add reducer, currently is an empty object. I'm exporting it. If I go to my main.jsx, I'm importing something called provider. And this provider is a React component. I will wrap all my application around it. It take one prop store, and I need to make equal it to the store I created. That should be simple. Okay. Of course, all the instructions are here, by the way. Now, what do I need to do? Well, now I need to go to my future, my slice. So I have one slice now, which is counter, because I'm planning to create a counter. So counter slice like that. I will go to my counter slice, and I need to do a few stuff. So I need to create a slice here. So if I go to the documentation here, that show you how to configure your store, as you can see, but don't worry for that. Now, that's important. That's why I wanted to. Now I want to create a slice. So how can I create a slice? Well, I can import a function which is called create slice from Redux toolkit. And after that, I can just declare a variable. I can name it the same name of my file, which is in my case, counter slice. It's equal to create slice. And here it take an object as a parameter. And well, that's all we need. So let's go again here and try now to create our slice. So I need to import something called create slice, right? Create slice, voila, and that's my create slice, as you can see. It's coming from Redux toolkit. So I will import this function, which is called create slice. And now here I need to declare a variable. So I will name it const. What is the name of my file? It's counter slice. So I will name it counter slice. Counter slice. Now counter slice here, after I declare my variable, now I'm going to execute my function, which is create a slice, and create a slice take an object, of course, with different parameters. We will see them now. Now the first parameter here I need to pass to create a slice, I need to give it a name. So this piece of state or this slice of state, I need to give it a name. And of course, as you know, when we use a function, it's not our choice to use a parameter, because the parameter is function is created for us. We just need to know what parameter we need to pass and how to use it. So first I need to pass a name. I need to give this state slice, this part of state or store, a name. And after that, I need to pass the initial state. So what was the initial state? I'm planning to use the counter, so the initial state, it will be 0. And after that, I can create a different reducer. And you may tell me, what are reducer? Reducer are function which is controlling the count. So one of them, for example, I can name it, for example, increment, and it will increment my count by 1, for example. Also, I have another reducer, which is decrement, will decrement my count by 1. After that, maybe, for example, I can have, for example, set count, and set count will make the count 0. So the first step here, I need to pass one parameter, which is called name, as you can see. So name, it will be string. I will name it counter. You can name it whatever you want to, but it does make sense to name it counter, because here the name of my file is counter. Okay, now the second one here, I need to pass the initial state. You need to understand something. In Redux philosophy, there is some rules. One of the rules is your state, all the time, it will be an object. Even if you have one property, all the time, your state must be an object. Okay, so now if I type initial state, as you can see, I created as an object. Even if I have one value, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's one of the rule of Redux or Redux toolkit. So the initial state here, I will just make it an object, and I have one thing called value, and it's 0. So you can name it count or counter or value. You can name it whatever you want to, but the initial state here, you cannot change it. This guy, it must be the same property. And after that, now I need to create my reducer. So what are reducers? As I told you, my reducer here, it will be different function I need to create. So first, let me create increment, as you can see. So it will be an object. Now I need to add different function. And if I say increment like that, of course, that will be a function. It will be a reducer. So reducer is a function. Increment, and here, each reducer by default receive 2 parameters. Again, each reducer by default receive 2 parameters. The first parameter, it will be the state, my state like that, state. And the second parameter here, we call the action. So the action here, sometime when I pass the data, my data, it will be inside the action. So it will be action.payload. The payload here, property include my data. But for now, I don't need any payload. I don't need any action. I just need here now the state. Okay, so what should I do in the increment function? Well, I should take the state, because that's the state. I should take state dot value, and then I need to increment by how much? By how much?
1.
1.
1. So all I have to do is arrow function like that. And now here, as you can see, I will say state dot value plus 1. Do I need another reducer? Of course, I need decrement. So decrement, as you can see, I will take my state as well, and as a state dot value is equal to -1. Okay, do I need another function? Yes, I need reset. Reset like that, and reset here, it will also take state, and here it will just say state dot value. I'm sorry, state dot value is equal to 0. So that's what we call the reducer. The reducer, it's just like a function which will go to the state, and because it receives the state by default, and then it modifies the state. So as I told you, the reducer, they are function, they receive something called action, and then after that, they go to the store, and they modify the data or the state. And here, that's my reducer. This one is plural. I can have multiple reducers. It's just an object. I can put multiple function if I want to. So now here, I put 3 reducers. The first one is increment, and it will receive by default state. There's another parameter I called you, it's an action. But for now, I don't need action. I just need the state. Why? Because I know that I just want to reduce by increment by 1, decrement by 1, and here just to make the value 0. If I want to increment by a certain number, let's say 5 or 10, if that's the case, then I need to accept the second parameter, action. And whenever I use this reducer, when I execute this reducer, I need to pass. So when I execute it as a function, I need to pass the number. And the number, it will be inside action.payload. For now, don't worry about that. Okay. Is that clear here? How can we create our slice? Yes.
Yes.
Now I need to export some stuff. So here I need to export my reducers. And I also need to export something else, which will be, let me see, it will be the action actually. So here, as you can see, I am exporting my increment, my decrement, my reset, all 3 functions. Yeah, but that's not, actually it's in that action, yes. I need to export something else. That's the reducer here. But where is my reducer? Let me just have a look, just a second. No, it's a slice dot reducer. Let me see. So yeah, it's coming from action actually, and here is coming from reducer. So I need to export this one as the default, which is the reducer. Fine. Export default counter slice dot reducer. So I need here in each slice, I need to export this stuff here. So first I need to export all my reducers, as you can see, increment, decrement, reset, and I can put it inside, and here I'm destructuring it, of course, because here I'm passing the reducer. So a counter slice dot action, this one coming from action, surprisingly, and I'm just trying to just export all these 3 reducer here. I'm gonna also export default counter slice dot reducer. Now, why I'm exporting this one? Well, because I need this reducer inside my store. So I will need this one inside my store. And I will need this different action here. I will need them inside my React component. So let's see, what do I mean by that? Let's go to my store. Is there any question here? Again, if you go to the documentation, they are doing the same idea here. Increment, decrement, reset, counter slice dot action. And then I'm exporting default counter. I don't like that. I prefer to export the counter slice, all of it. And actually, let me show you. Let me log the counter slice here. Let's just say counter slice dot. So if I say counter slice dot, so as you can see, I have action, I have get initial state, I have reducer. So inside the counter slice now, I have a lot of different objects, as you can see. One of them is the action. And if I go to the action, as you can see, it will show me that I have inside the actions, increment, decrement, reset. And if I go, for example, inside get initial state, it will show me the initial state, which is a value, it's a number. And if I go inside the reducer here, so reducer here, it is just also, it shows me just the value here. So what do I need to do? Well, what I need to do now, according to redux-toolkit documentation, I need to export all these three. I will need all these three in React component, and I will need to add this one here, which is the reducer inside my store. Is it okay, guys, or no? It will be the same for each slice you are creating. Is the idea clear here or no?
And Samir, like on why it's export default counter slice dot reducer and not reducers? On line 8, there is reducers.
Yeah, but I'm not exporting this one. There is another property. This one reducer is another object. It's not this one here.
Okay.
It's another object. Don't worry about that. That's not reduce this one, this guy. This guy here, as you can see, increment, decrement, all this value here is inside the actions. This reducer is something else, totally different. Okay?
Okay.
So now, whenever I need to do something in my component, React component, I will use these three different action to dispatch an action. And here I need to go to take this guy and I need to take it to my store and I need to register it in my store. So let's go now to my store first and let me import this guy here. So I will go to my, where is my store? Click here. And here I can just import counter reducer. You can name it whatever you want to because it's the default export, but it's coming from /future/counter/counter slice. Because it's the default export, I can name it whatever I want to. And now here in the reducer, I need to add a key. This key can be whatever you want to. I will name it counter, and I need to assign my reducer, just like that. Remember, each slice you are creating, you need to import this guy here, counter slice or user slice or whatever you want to reduce. You need to export it as a default and you need to import it inside your store like that. And you can give it any property. This name here is up to you. And then you need to assign it to this counter reducer. So if I have, for example, user reducer, I will add comma and add another one. If I have shop reducer, same idea. All the time, I need to import the reducer here. And after that, I need to add it inside this object here. Is the idea clear? Yes, no? Hello? No? Again, you may not understand it the first time because it's maybe a little bit complex, but I'm creating my counter slice. I think it should be a little bit this one clear here. Now, in each counter slice or in each slice, you need to export two stuff. Export, that's name export here. I'm destructuring. I'm taking the increment, decrement, reset from the counter slice dot actions. These guys here, it will just store it inside the action. So I will say counter slice dot action. I will import those inside my React component. But there is something I need to import it inside my store, which is what we call counter slice dot reducer. Single reducer, huh? No plural, just single. After I export it as a default, I need to go to my store and I need to import it. I can give it whatever name I want to, but it does make sense to name it counter reducer. And I will just provide the path as you can see. And then here I need to add any property I want to. and then I need to assign this counter reducer to it. Clear, not clear? Yes, no.
Yes.
I hope so. Okay, fine. Now that's fine. After that, we create everything. That's okay. My job is done here. Now I will go to my component. So let's go to my component and let's create a few stuff. In my app component, I have nothing. So I'm trying to create a counter. So maybe it will be here. I just need to create two parts here. Let's name it counter like that. Counter.gsx. Second component, I will name it display. I'm trying to display the value. Display.gsx. So counter, I just need to create a normal React component. Voila. And here from now on, I don't need all of those guys. I will not use any, I will rarely use props. Rarely. Why? Because I don't need to use prop anymore. Whenever I want to access any data, I can access them from any component I want to, which is very simple actually. Like that here. And now what do I want to do in this counter? Well, I want to create a div with 3 buttons. So I will just want to create different button. Let me create 3 button here. Button 1, like that. Let me add minus here, for example. Button 2, it will be, no, I don't want to use this. I want to add button 2. And this button here, let's name it reset. And the button 3, let me add plus. Simple. So I have 3 buttons, as you can see. So I should be fine. What do I need else? I don't need anything else. Let me create the display, RAFCP. I don't need all of that. I don't need to use any props. And I don't need this one as well, but it looks like I have a problem with display. Yeah, it's not correct. Display like that. Okay, I need to rename my component. Okay, and here let's name it display. So in display, what do I want to display? Well, I want to display the value here, but I don't currently have the value, so I'm gonna leave it this way. Okay, let me import my boss component, which include nothing currently inside my app.gsx. So let me import the first and the second component. Import, we name it counter if I'm not mistaken. Counter. And the second one, it was display. No, import. Import display. Voila. What? Come here. Well, that's all I need. And I can maybe add an H1 here. Or just name it counter. It's just a title like that. That's not bad. That's fine. But now what do I want to do really? Well, in my counter here, I need somehow to access the value. But how can I access the value? Any idea? How can I access the value? Yes. You remember we export something from my slice. These guys here, increment, decrement, reset. I will need all these 3. So I will need the increment, the decrement, the reset here. And I need to import them inside my component. So I will go here and I will just import. It was increment, if I'm not mistaken, increment, like that. So as you can see here from counter slash increment, decrement, and reset. So I need to import all these guys 3, increment, decrement, reset from /feature counter and counter slice. So that's fine. I need to import something else from React Redux. Can anyone tell me what they are? As you give me the feeling that I want to cry, really. Diniando, what should I import?
Store.
No. Use
Display.
Status.
Use select.
Use selector, and also I need to use
Dispatch.
dispatch. So I will need to import 2 hooks. We have 2 new hooks from React Redux. One of them is called use selector, and the second one is called use dispatch. These 2 selectors are very simple to use. So first, I need now to What do I need now? Actually, currently, I don't need anything. I don't need to access any value here. I don't need the value because what I want to, when I click on this button, I want to do something. So if I want to click on this, when I click on this button, I want to, what do I want to do? Do I want to increment or decrement or reset? If I click on this button, what do I want to do?
Decrement.
Decrement. So what I can do here, I can just add on click, notice. But before that, I need to just use my dispatch. So I can just say use dispatch, use, oh, come on, use dispatch. Use dispatch here, it will return me another function. And here I just need to store it in a variable. And that's the normal way we use it. We just name it const dispatch. It's equal to use dispatch. So this guy here, this hook, which is coming from React Redux, I need to execute it. It's a function. When I execute it, it will return me another function actually. And this function, I can save it in a variable. And after that, now I can use it. So no, I don't want selector now. I just need to use const dispatch. Dispatch. It will be equal to use a dispatch, and I need to execute it. Voila. That's fine. Here, do I need to access the value? Do I need the value here or not? Do I need the value here?
Yes, yes.
Where?
In use state, we need to create.
No, but I don't want to show the value. I don't need any value actually. I
Mhm.
just need to dispatch event. I need the value here in display,
Yeah.
not in counter. So because I don't need the value, I don't need to access the state, I will not need this selector. Use selector, we only use it to access the store. I don't need to access the store. I want only to dispatch some action. That's fine. Let me go to this button and add an event which is called onClick, as you know. And onClick, voila. So on the click, what should I do? Well, I need to create a function. As you can see here, I will create a function. And inside this function, I can use dispatch. Its function, as you can see. So this function, when I execute it, it will return another function. I will execute this function. And now I need to pass which one I want to do. Do I want to increment or decrement or reset?
Decrement.
So I want here to decrement because it's minus, right? So I will just pass decrement. Voila. It's the same idea for the rest. Here I will come here, on click. It's equal to, why did I use arrow function here? Why did I use arrow function here? Why I did not use dispatch directly? Why I just not use it this way? I remove this one, just keep the dispatch. Why I cannot use this way?
Because it will be automatically, and we need after click.
Immediately, and that's not what I want to. I want when I click on the button, then it will be executed. Okay, because now, as you can see, we've seen this one before, right? So here, because this function take a parameter, I cannot just put the function because I need to pass a reference to the function. So that's the reason why I put it inside the arrow function. And like that, when the user click on the button, then this function be executed. And that's what I want to. And now the last one, it will be the same exactly. I just need to add on click. Voila, so that's how we dispatch an action. Voila. Clicky, and here I need to use dispatch all the time to dispatch an action. That's what I need to do. And here I'm trying to increment, so I need to pass my increment. And voila, super simple. Is there anything simpler than that? So I need to import here my different action here, increment, decrement, reset from my slice. And then here I need just to use one hook, which is called use dispatch. Use dispatch. We use it to make changes on the store. I told you, whenever I want to change the store, I need to dispatch an action. And as you can see here, that's my different action. I'm trying now to dispatch this action. And this action now, it will go to the store. I have a reducer. It will modify the store according to my need. Again, on click, I just need to execute, put an arrow function. Why? Because I'm executing this function. This function take parameter. And here, dispatch. And what do I want to dispatch? Well, here, it's obvious I want to decrement, so decrement. Here, I want to reset, so reset. Here, I want to increment, increment, and that should be simple. So now we know how to dispatch an action, right? All we have to do, just use dispatch from React Redux, and I need to import my different action. So as you can see in my slice here, in my counter slice or any slice here, I am exporting these different guys here from counter slice.actions. Yeah, and all I have to do is just import them inside. Whenever I want to make changes in my component for the store, whenever I to change the store, here I want to change the store. Why? Because when I click on the button, I want to change the value. So I need to import use dispatch. And dispatch, I will execute it, it will return a function. I need to save it in a variable. The name of the variable, it's by convention, we use it dispatch. So that means that's what we know in dispatch. And after that here, I can just here, I'm passing a function on click. I just need to pass function. Because dispatch here take a parameter, I cannot just pass the dispatch directly. I need to pass it inside an arrow function. And then I need to just here pass what action I want to. Well, I want to decrement here, I want to reset here, I want to increment here. And that's simple. Cool. Now I want to do something in display. Now, as you can see, in display, I want the value. So what should I do? I don't have the value. I did not access the value. I didn't need to access the value here. I just want to change the value here. And that's what I'm changing. So that's I'm dispatching an action to change the store, the value inside the store. But here I need to access the value because I want to show the value. So what should I do?
Use selector.
So I need to import. And what was the second hook? Use
Selector.
selector. And I don't need use dispatch here. Now use selector is very simple to use. So I can just say const value. It's equal to use selector. So use selector by default, this guy here, it take a function as a parameter. Voila. And this function by default receives a store or the state. So by default, this guy receive, come on. By default, this guy receives a state. Okay. And now here, what do I want from the state? Well, I can now return state dot, what do I have inside the state? What do I have inside the state? So state dot counter, I think. Yeah, actually should be counter dot value. Because why? Because if I go to my state here, not this one, if I go to my store, where is it here? So it will be store dot this guy here, the name I choose dot counter, and should access the value if I am not mistaken. So let's see. Let's see if that will work or not. Click. I'm not finished. So it was in display. So it will, that's the state dot counter dot value. Because inside the counter, do I have a value? I think it was just state dot value if I'm not mistaken. Not sure. Well, you can just log it. It's fine.
Yeah, I think just state dot value.
Yeah, let's just log it. It's fine. Let's just log the state to see. So here you can log your state if you want to. It's fine. So let's go to my application and let's log the state. Refresh. As you can see here. So if I click on this one, actually we have counter. The reason why we use the counter here, because here in my store, if I go, I give it this value. So as a counter coming from this value, by default, Redux adds this value. So as you can see, my state here is I need to say state dot counter dot value. So let's do that. If you are not sure where you state here, you can just log it. It's fine. So now I need to go to here and I need to say state dot counter dot value, and I should receive my value. And all I have to do now, I have to display this value. It's just a variable, so I can just here do value. Voila. Please. And now let's go to my application and notice. Click. Shit, what's happening? Being dispatched, make sure you are calling the action creator before. Yeah, dispatch increment is a necessary event. The action is not payload. So what mistake did I do? I don't know. Let me check. Dispatch increment. Yeah, but I didn't do any mistake actually. So use dispatch. It should be dispatch. Dispatch
In the dispatch, we did not call the
mistake.
function, I think.
Yeah. So guys, you remember these three guys here, which is increment and decrement and reset? What are those? What is this one?
Functions.
Yes. So what is this one? They are functions. So what I need to do actually here, when is in here, I need to execute them because they are function. Here's the same idea. I need to execute them. And here I need to execute them. Voila. And now if I go, my application should work if I have no other problem. Click. And voila, as you can see, it's working. Decrement and reset, it's perfectly working. And now let me show you something nicer a little bit. Because we are using Redux, we also have a Chrome extension for Redux. So if I click on Redux like that, and voila. So what the hell is that? That's what we call Redux Dev Tool. So first, it will show me my different slice of store. So as you can see, I have the counter. See, counter, and I have inside it value, and currently the value is 0. I can also show it here as a chart if I want to. And now it's just one line, but when I have more slice, it will show me just like a tree. It will be a nice to see it. But anyway, now I have a tree. Now notice what happened when I click on plus. So if I click on plus, what happened? What happened? What happened? Which action is being created here?
Increment.
Increment. So as you can see, increment is being dispatched here. So the action here, increment, is being dispatched. And as you can see, the value here is being increased. If I click on reset, notice what will happen. Reset. So as you can see, the reset action is being dispatched and the value is 0. If I click on minus, so which action is being dispatched? The decrement. So here, Redux Dev Tool also allow me to debug my code. It's also allow me to go back in time. So if I click on this one, notice, click, it will show me the previous one, which was the decrement, and also my applications will change. So I can go back in time, as you can see. So first it was 0, then I click on plus, then I click on reset, then I click on minus, like that. And that's very helpful when we are debugging our state in case we have any bugs, because like that, it's allow us to go back in time, as you can see. And it's obvious here which one now is being selected here. Voila. Is the idea clear? Yes, no? Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
Let's create another example just to get more familiar with. So what I'm going to do here, just a second. What I'm thinking of. Let me, do you have a simple example? Does it include numbers?
Maybe users.
I will do the users later because the users here, I need to go to the backend and do that. Don't worry, I'll do that, but not now.
Okay.
I'm trying to just do another example so you get more familiar with it. Let's say cakes. Okay, for example, I have cakes. So what I need to do here, I need to go to futures. And now because I want to create another slice, I need to create a new folder. And this folder here, I will name it, let's name it cake. Or cakes, whatever you want it. Cakes like that, or cake. Let's just name it cake. And here I need to create now a new folder, and I need to create cake. What was the name? Slice. Okay, .js. Like that. So let's say I have 20 cakes, and each time someone took one cake, I will have one button only, and I will just click on that, and I will just what this button is going to do is just minus the number of the cake by 1. Or let's say by any number I want to pass. So for example, I have 20 cake and some guys can take 5 cakes. So whenever something happened, when I click on the button, I can have an input, for example, type 5. And then what I can do, I can take this 5 and after that, pass it to my reducer, and it will decrement the number of the cake by 5. Okay? So how can I create my cake slice? Can anyone remind me what should I import? What should I import?
Create slice.
Yeah, so I need to import, create, slice. Create like that, slice. So where is my create slice? Voila. So my create slice is coming from redux-toolkit. So after that here, what I need to do, I need to declare a variable, and the variable should be the same name as of my file, which will be cake slice. Yeah, should be just const cake slice, which will be equal. Now I need to execute my function, which is create slice. I told you create slice, take an object as a parameter, right? So in this object, I need to add a few stuff. So what will be the first parameter? I need to give it a name. What the name should I give? Maybe cake. The second parameter, what it was? Initial?
Initial state.
So I need to pass the initial state. And initial state, as always, I told you, it must be an object. So as you can see, my initial state here, it must be an object, number of cakes. Let's say I have 20 cakes. By default, I have 20 cakes, for example. Now, the last one here, I need to pass reducers, right? So I need to say reducers like that. So reducer here. Reducers, it's plural. And voila. So what do I want to do here? Well, what I want to do here is not by cake. Maybe I can name it by cake. Yeah, fine. I will name it by cake. It doesn't matter by cake or not. I told you this function by default, what does it receive? What does this function receive by default? In reducer, what does this function receive by default?
State.
Parameter.
Not just a state, but there is another parameter. So it receives a
Action.
state and it receives something called action. So it received two parameters. Now, why I did not use the action in the counter? Because I was just reducing by one. So here all the time I'm reducing by one, so I did not need the action. But now I want to reduce it by a specific number, which I don't know how much. So now I want to change my state. So in order to change my state, I need to say state dot number of cake. It will be minus action dot payload. And the action dot payload here, whenever I execute, so let me go here. Let me go to component. Let me go to this one. So whenever I execute it this way, I can pass the number of the cake I want to. And then that's what I need to do. Now, what I need to do here, it will be now inside action.payload. So all I have to do now, I can just say state dot number of cakes. And I want to reduce it by how much? By action dot payload. So the action, it's an object, and the payload here, it will be a property which includes the data I am passing to my reducer when I dispatch them. So when I execute them, I need to pass this data, and it will come inside the payload. And this way, I can now control how many cake I want to sell. It could be 1, it could be 10, it could be 20, and so on. Now I need to, after I created my reducer, I would just need one reducer only because I just want to buy cake. I don't want to add any cakes. If I want to add any cakes, I can do that as well. It's not a problem. Actually, let me do that here. Add cake. And it will be the same idea here. So, but here I'm just plusing it. So maybe I will use this reducer as well to add some cakes. So whenever the user buy 5, I can add 3, for example, whatever. Now I need to export two stuff. What are these two stuff? So first I need to, by default, export default, which will be a slice, cake slice dot reducer, right? And the second one, I need to export these two guys here, which will be buy cake and add cake. So const, as you can see, buy cake, add cake from cake slice dot action. And the second one, it will be default, which will be cake slice dot reducer single. Is that okay now? Yes, no?
Yes.
As you can see, all the time they are the same concept. It is the same concept. I'm just repeating it. Fine. So I've created my slice, which is nice. Now I need to import this guy where? Where should I put this guy? Where I should put this guy?
In the store file.
Indeed. So I need to go to my store and I need to import this guy, which is called, let's name it, for example, cake reducer. Import cake reducer, not slice. I need to name it reducer like that. From where? It's from future cake slice. And now, of course, I need to add it here. So I need to add a property. I can name it cake and cake reducer. And voila, it's done. So I imported my cake reducer inside my store, which is nice.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
Because we are combining two reducers, right? Counter and cake. We don't need here line number 6 combine configuration store.
Again,
think-
Diniando.
There is one property in the
Yes.
Redux toolkit combine store, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. When we use this one.
The combine, it's combine reducer.
Yeah.
I think combine reducer, if you want to combine multiple one, actually, we are not using it in Redux toolkit. We used to use that in Redux because in Redux you have multiple reducer and your store does not accept multiple reducer. So you need to combine the reducer in something we call the root reducer. But in Redux toolkit, we don't need to do that. Why?
Okay,
Because
yeah.
as you can see here, I can pass multiple reducer.
Okay.
Fine. So I pass my reducer here, cake reducer. It's fine. Now remember, I will need these guys inside my component. Remember that. So let me create a component here. I will name it cake. Cake.js, right? GSX or whatever you want to name it. I don't really, it's up to you. You can name it whatever you want. Okay, fine. I don't need this one guy. I don't need any props anymore. Whenever I want to store, I can just access it. And voila. So let me import my cake inside my app.jsx. Import cake. And let me show my cake here. Voila. Something like that, for example. Yeah, but why? I need to render it as a component. Cake like that. Voila. Fine. So now let's go back to my cake. Now inside my cake, what do I want to do? Well, it's quite simple. First, I need to show the number of the cake. So I can, for example, just say H2. And here I need to show the number of the cake. Now I will just say number. I will type text now, but later on I will change it. Number of cakes. Now what do I need to do? Well, I need an input actually. So what I need to do, I need an input. Why do I need an input? Why do I need an input? Why do I need an input? I need an input to grab how many cake the user want to buy or how many cake I want to add, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
You need an input here. And because I need an input, and after that, maybe now I need to create two buttons. So button one, it's buy a cake, and button two, let's say add a cake. So it's very, very simple, as you can see. Here, I need to add the number of cake, which currently I think they are 20. So if I go to here, they should be 20. Where is it? Where is it? And after that, I will have an input. The type, it will be a number. And then I will need to grab this value. Why? Because simply I need to know how many cake the user want to buy or how many cake I want to add. That's okay. But now here, I need to grab the value from the input. So how can I grab the value from the input? Any idea?
Use selector.
No. This input is not related to my state. This input here is nothing is not related to my state. I can use state. So what I can do here, I can just say const number, no, just say input. Const input. I just name it input, set input, and by default it is 0. And of course now, whenever the user types something here, so I need just to pass a property called value. The value, it will be input. And here I need to add an event. What will be the event? On
change.
On change. So whenever I make any changes, what do I want to do? Well, I want to receive the E. And after that, what do I need to do? I need to use set input to what? Can anyone tell me what do I need to use set input?
E target.value.
Are you sure? Do I need to do something before that? Like number?
Number.
So because now I need number, so I need to convert it to a number. So now I say E dot target dot value. And now you are correct. This is not something new. We've been done it a million times. So here, this is just an input. It's not related to my store at all. I just want to grab this value from the user. That's all I need.
Samir, we already write here type number, right?
I'm sorry, Dinyando?
Line number 9.
Hmm.
We already write here type number.
Let's see if that's the case, but just to make sure I've converted to a number. I will now check it if I don't need it, because sometimes actually it does not work. So let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what do I want to do? Well, I have my number, which is quite nice. So what I need to do now, I just need to add on click to this button, right? On click to this button, and I need to add on click to this button as well. Okay, what do I want to do when I click on this button? Well, I need to reduce the number of the cake by how much? By the value the user typed here, right? What do I need to import here? So first I need to import two selectors from React Redux. What they are?
Use dispatch and use selector.
So use selector and use dispatch. Come on, use dispatch. This patch should be like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Use, there is a type of use.
Yeah, that's why it's not working. So let's use dispatch. Voila. Okay, now I need to import something else. Remember, what do I need to import from my slice? I need to import these guys, right? Buy cake and add cake, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now let me go to my component. And now I need to import buy cake and add cake from where? Dot slash redux cake cake. Well, it's not a cake action actually. It's cake. What do we name it? We name it cake slice, right? Cake. I'm not sure it's from no. Yeah, because it's not default import. So indeed, it's from cake action. Why? Because it's a default. It's not the default import. So that's fine. Okay, I have my action. I have everything now. I need somehow to grab the value. Can anyone tell me how much the value of cake? How can I access it? Well, it will be simple. I can just say const num of cakes. I need to use selector. I told you use selector. It take a function as a parameter. And this function by default receives a state. So use selector. I need to pass a function and it receives a state. And here the data I want to, it will be inside the state dot, what was the property we name it? Cake dot, I think it was number of cakes, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, it's number of cakes. Voila. Or you can log it if you want to see the value. Voila. Fine. So I have the number of the cake. So I need to remove these guys. And here I just need to render number of cakes, but number of cakes, it should be correct. Voila. Number of cakes. That should be nice. Okay, now what do I want to do here? Well, I need to dispatch an action. So I will need to create a function here, but I forgot to use dispatch. So let's go in here and let's just say const, come on. Const dispatch, so I need to use dispatch, execute it, save it in a variable. And now here, all I have to do, I can just say dispatch. Where the hell is my dispatch? Dispatch. And here in dispatch, what do I want to do? Do I want to buy a cake or do I want to add a cake?
Buy a cake.
I need to buy a cake, and it's, remember, buy a cake, it's a function. And here I need to pass the value here, which will be the input. Because I need to buy how many cakes depending on this number here. And now I need to do the same here. So let me actually copy paste it. But of course, I'm gonna change this one to add cake, right? Voila. Let's try it. It looks like I have some error. I don't know what the error is. Const cake. Yeah, I have some problem here. That's not right. So as you can see here, what it's not to be, it will be a dot, yeah, future and cake slice. So that's the correct one. And now the guy is okay. What I can do, Diniando, now, I can just log this input to see if it's a number or not. So let's log the input. Actually, let me get rid first from this number here to see if I need it or not. So if I don't need it, I'm not gonna use it. Let's see. Clicking. Voila. So now the number of the cake is 20, right? And as you can see, I have my cake component, I have my cake slice as well, so 20. And now if I import here, let's say 2, and I say buy a cake, and this become 18, you are actually correct. So they are reducing, so I don't need to convert it to a number because I'm using a number, which is good. Okay. Fine. Now, as you can see, the number of the cake become 18. Why? Because I bought 2 cakes, as you can see. And of course, here I can go back in time if I want to. Click on this one. And now it's just 20. And after that, I bought 2. And now I have 18. Okay, fine. Now, what do I want to do after that? Well, I want to add 10 cakes. Or maybe 5 cakes. I don't know. I want to add 5 cakes. So 5 with 18, it should be 23. See, Diniando? Do you see, Diniando? Diniando, do you see?
Yeah.
So it's actually, it will be better to just do this one here and just add number like that. It's more safe. Let's try again. So fresh 20, let's add 5, whatever, add cake, and now 25, and now it's working, as you can see. So always, it's better idea just to convert it to a number, and like that, you will not face any bugs. Is the idea clear? Is that the second example, just to make it clear? Yes, no? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, now there is just one task I need to show you. How can we grab the data from an API using Redux Toolkit, because it's quite important, you're going to use it. But other than that, it's the same concept with everything you want to. All the time, you will create one store inside app, and that will be the configuration, as you can see. You will create a folder called future. Inside future, depending which slice you want. For cake, I want one slice. For counter, I want one slice. For user, I want one slice. And it's the same idea as the naming here, cake, slice. All the time you need to add slice. Same structure. And after that, what you need to do, you need to export these two stuff. This stuff reducer, you need to import it to the store. And then you need to add any property you want to. And remember, when you access the state after that, you will say state.this value, whatever the value name it. And yeah, so you need to just assign this reducer to those. And after that, when you create your component, you need to import these guys here, the action here, to use dispatch. And here you need to excuse them because they are function. And you can pass any value you want to. If you want to, they will be stored in the payload here. And that's it. Okay. Now, if I click on this one, as you can see now, my state here, it has two slices, the counter and the cake. And I have a value here, which is 0, and I have a value here, which it should show me 20, as you can see, which is cool. Let's take a break, 15 minutes, and after that, we will come and I'll show you how can also we use Redux Toolkit to fetch real data from an API, and like that should be complete. I will ask you after that to do any project you want to using Redux Toolkit just to practice. Okay?
Okay.
Enjoy your break. Back in 15 minutes. Okay, so the final piece here, I need to show you everything else, it will be the same idea exactly, but I need to teach you also how to fetch a data from an API. So I will do the example here. I will try to fetch user. It's the same idea for all other API. So first step, what should I do? I'm trying now to create users inside my app.jsx. So I want to add users here. What is the first step I need to do? What is the first step? Take a guess. Adil, what is the first step? Agnieszka, Ahlam.
Start with APIs?
No, the first step here, I need to go to the future and I need to create a new folder. And this folder, I name it users. Because I'm trying to fetch users, right? And inside users, I need to now to create a file and I need to name it users. Users what? Slice, right? .js. So that's the first step. So the first step, I need to create another folder inside future. I will use user. Why? Because I need to create another slice of a state. And this slice here, it will be my users. Because the user is not related to the counter, is not related to the cake. So what should I import here? What should I import?
Create size.
Okay, so let me import create slice. Where's my create slice? Create slice, create slice. So I'm going to import my create slice. Now, whenever we are dealing with a sync operation, that means, of course, when we are sending a request to the backend, is that a sync operation or not?
Yes.
So whenever we are dealing with a sync operation, Redux Toolkit give us something really nice, which is create a sync func. Create, let me just do, create a sync func. So as you can see, this guy here, click. Now in Redux, we need to have something called Redux func. And also this, it was extra library. We need to use it to fetch an API or deal with a sync task. But Redux Toolkit already, we don't need another library. It's already includes something called create a sync func. And create a sync func, we use it to whenever we were trying to send a request to the backend, whenever we are trying to do an async action. Okay, now first step here, I need to create a function, and this function here, it will be fetch user. So I will create my API here. So how? Well, all I have to do now, I just say export because I know I need to export this function. So I will need to use it somewhere else. Const, and I'll name it fetch user or get user or whatever you want to name it. It's equal to, now I will call this function, which is create async thunk. Create async thunk. Now this function create async thunk, it take two parameter. It take two parameter. As the first parameter here, it will be, I need to give this operation a name. And normally, because it's a user, I will just name it users/fetch user. So here it will be just a message here, name for the action, user fetch user, like that. And the second parameter, it will be just a function. And this function here, I will make it an async function. Why do I need to make it async function? Why do I need to create this function? Why it need to be async? Why does this function need to be async?
Because we are requesting to backend.
Because I will send a request to the backend. So it is async operation. But I'm planning to use Axios, so I need to import Axios, right? So import Axios from Axios. Okay, now I will go inside my function now, and all I have to do now, I can just say const response. It's equal to await Axios dot blah blah blah, this guy here. And now all I have to do now, I need to return. Now notice I need to return res.data, just like that, only like that. Now you may tell me, but I don't have the error here. I don't have the try and catch here. Well, you don't have to do that with Redux toolkit. With Redux toolkit, whenever you have an error, it will be automatically be set as an error. You don't have to worry about that. So whenever you're trying to send a request to an API, all you have to do, you need to use this function, which is called create async func, which is being designed specifically for async operation. Most of the time when we deal with the API, try to get data. So first I need to create a function, and if this function, you can name it whatever you want to. You need to export it because we need this function somewhere else. Okay, I would say create async func. This function take two parameters, as you can see. So the first parameter here, it will be, I need to give a name to my action. So what do I need to give it? I just give it user/fetch user, for example. You can, if it's a fetch product, for example, you can say product/fetch product, and so on and so on. You can just give it a name here. And then here, as the second parameter, it will be a function. This function need to be async. Why? Because I'm trying to send a request to the backend. So here, const response, it's equal to await axios.get, and I'm passing the URL to get the user. It's from JSON placeholder. And after that, I need to return rest.data. That's all I need to do. Okay, now let's create our slice. Let's create our slice. So what is the name of my file? Just a second, guys. Okay, guys, let's get back. Now I need to create my my slice. How can I create my slice? Hello, const users slice, just as the name of my file. It's equal to create slice, and create slice, it's a function. It take an object as a parameter, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, what different parameter I need to pass? Can you open the door? Guys, I need to go down just to open the door. I'll be back in just a few minutes, okay? Let me... Okay, I want to create my store. So what should I do? Yes, what different parameter I need to pass?
Name.
So first I need a name. Let's name it user. As then I will need initial state. So initial state, I will have users, which will be an empty array because I know users, it will be an array. Status here, I can just add another property called loading. So as you know, we have a loading, and loading, I'll make it false, for example. Okay, loading. What I'm missing here? Loading. So I have users, which is an empty array, loading false, and I have an error message, right? Error, just make it an empty string. Do you know why my initial state is like that or not? Tell me something, yes or no? So normally I will need to have a loading. Loading by default is false. When I send a request, I'll make the loading true. Users, it will be an array of users. An error message here is just make it empty string. So that will be my initial state. After that, I have reducers, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need any reducer here. Can anyone tell me why? So whenever you are dealing with a sync operation, you don't need any reducer. But what we need extra reducer. Extra reducer. So whenever you are dealing with a sync operation, you need to use extra reducer and not the reducer, because this reducer here, what they are doing, they're changing the state immediately. And that's not what I want to in a sync operation, because a sync operation, nothing happen immediately. It will take time. And this here, this extra reducer, it's a function, as you can see. It take one parameter by default, and this parameter here, we call it builder. Builder like that. Okay, that's fine. After that, now I can, so depending on what will be when I send a request to the backend, what it is normally? Is it, for example, a promise or not?
Yes.
So this builder here can tell me, depending on the status of the promise. Can anyone tell me how many different status we have for the promise? We have 3 states for the promise, right? Can anyone remind me? Pending, fulfill, and
Response.
no.
Reject.
Reject.
Yeah.
So we have pending, that means still I am sending a request to the backend. Fulfill, that means I'm getting my data. Rejected, that means I did not get my data. I will have an error message. And this builder guy here can know about those. So how could I do that? Well, I can add different case. All I have to do, I can just say builder dot add case. So it has a function on it called add case. And an add case here, now I can call my API. What is my API? Fetch user, right? So I can just say fetch user dot pending, as you can see. And here, what I can do here, the second parameter, it will be just like the reducer. It will take a function, and this function, it will be a state. So it will have a state like that. Okay, now, when my promise is pending, what should I change here in my state? So my promise is pending, what should I change? What should I change when my promise is pending? Should I change the user or loading or error? Come on, guys. Pending, that means I'm still sending a request to the backend.
Loading.
So loading here, I need to make it true. So all I have to do, I just need to say state.loading is true. That's it. So whenever my promise here is pending, that means I'm still sending a request to the backend. So what type of data here should I change? Well, I need to change only the loading status, because the loading here, it will be true. That means I'm still sending a request to the backend. So that will be the first case, which is pending. The second case, it will be in case my data, I write my data, I got my data. What we call this status? What do we call it?
Fulfill.
Fulfill. So I can just say building again, dot fulfill. And now let me just get rid of this one. So here, building, our builder dot add case, fetch user, that's my API. Dot fulfill, that means I get my data. And of course, this function, as I told you, it's just like the reducer. It receives at least one parameter, state and payload here, or action. Can anyone tell me why do I need the action here? Why do I need the action in this case? Where my data will be?
For data.
Where my data will be?
In the action.
Where in action? In
Payload.
In payload. I told you that whenever you are passing any data here, it will be inside the action object inside payload. So what do I need to change here? Well, first I need to make the loading false or true.
False.
You need to make it false. Why? Because I'm receiving my data. As a user here, I need to change the user. Do I need to change the error message?
No.
No. So the error message, I do not need to change it. So all I have to do, I just need to make the loading false. And of course, the user here, it will be action.payload, and state.error, it's still an empty string. Now, the last case here, it will be builder.add case fetch user.reject. If it's rejected, I will also receive state and action. And after that here, I need to make the loading false. And my user here, it will be an empty. What my user will be?
Empty array.
Empty array. And my message here, what it will be? Action.payload.
Error.
Dot message. Do you remember I told you when we are using Axios, if we have an error, the error, it will be an object, and inside it we have one property called message. So let's add the last case here, which will be builder fetch user rejected state and action. Of course, here I need to make the loading false as well. The user is still an empty array, and here my error here, I need a message because my error here is string. So it will be action.error, actually not even .payload, action.error.message. Is the idea clear? So every time you want to do an async operation, you need to use this method, which is called create async thunk. I'll go through it again, and now I will go through it again. Okay. So what do I want to do here? I need to import create slice, because now here I'm trying to create a slice for user, and create async thunk. This function is provided by redux-toolkit to do an async operation. An async operation, of course, that's including sending a request to the backend. I need to create a function, and here this function I need to export it because I need to use it in another file. That's fine. So I'll name it fetch user, and here create async thunk. Take two parameters. The first parameter is whatever the action I want to name it, and name it user/fetch users. And the second parameter, it will be a function. We need to make it a async function. Why? Because we are trying to send a request to the backend. The rest here is the same. I just need to return rest.data. Now I need to create my slice. My slice, I need to give it a name. Initial state, users, it will be an array. Loading, it will be false. Error, it will be an empty string. Now I cannot add the reducer here when I'm sending a request to the backend in async operation. Why? Because a reducer, they will happen immediately. Okay, that means whenever I click on the button, immediately it will happen. But that's not the case for async operation, because async operation needs some time to be completed. So what I need to do here, I need to add something called extra reducers. Extra reducer is a function. It takes something called builder as a parameter. This builder has something called add case, so I can add different case. Now, because I have an API here, this guy here, it returns a promise. It is a promise, actually. Now, depending on the status of the promise, I can add different case to builder. So promise could be pending, it could be fulfilled, or could be rejected. So I will add a case, fetch users as my API dot pending. If in case it's pending, the second parameter here, of course, for add case, it will be a function, and it will receive two parameters, state and action. Here, I don't need the action. I just need the state. Why? Because whenever the request is being pending, I just need to change the loading here, state loading to true. What if it's in case fulfill? Well, it's in case fulfill. What I need to do, I make the loading false. The error message, it still will be an empty string, but now I need to get my user. But how can I get my user? Well, it will be inside action.payload. As for the third case, when the promise here is being rejected, I'll still have state and action. And here I need to make the loading false because, yeah, I did not get my data, but I get an error. State user, it will be an empty array. So is the default value here. And after that, I need to make the state.error is action.error. So the error, it will be on the action, actually, it will not be in the payload. Action.error, you can log the action if you want to. Action.error.message. And this error.message here, this message, I told you all the time when we are using Axios, the error, it will be object, and we have one property called message. Is the idea clear? Yes, no?
Yes, I have a question because before when we didn't use Redux, at the beginning as a default we use loading true, and after that we change to false, blah blah blah. And now here is false, but it's not important. Now can we?
No,
Yeah,
I'll show you why. I'll show you why. Don't worry. I'll show you why we are making it false now. You'll see when you are using it inside the component, you'll understand why I make it false now. Okay?
Okay.
And don't worry. Okay, now here, what do I need to export? Well, I need to export the reducer. Why? Because I need to put it inside my store. Other than that, I need to I need to export this guy here. Now, I don't need to export those guys here. Those guys, I don't need to export them because they are not a reducer. They're extra reducer. So I don't need them. I just need this guy. That's why I exported. And I will need also to export default. So exp, export default here, and it will be users slice dot reducer. Now, as I told you, the reducer, we need to import it where? Where do we need to import the reducer? Inside the store. So let me import it here. I will just say import. And we name it users reducer, right? From future users slice reducer. Because it's a default export, I can name it whatever I want to. So you can give it even a name high if you want to, because it's a default export. But this one, you cannot change it because that's named export. It must be the same. Okay, now all I have to do, I need to add this reducer again to here. So user reducer, and that's it. Okay, now what do I want to do? Let's go to my component and create it. So I've registered this one, I've registered this one. I don't need these guys. Click. Now let me go to my component. Do I have component user? No, I don't have. So let me create it. Users.gsx. I need to create a dummy component. Voila. I don't need all of those. I don't need props. And I don't need this one. Cool. Now, when I send a request to the backend, what do I need? When I send a request to the backend, how can I send a request to the backend? Can anyone tell me? Yes, when I send a request to the backend, what do I need? Oh, we are using a hook. Do you remember what was the hook?
Use effect.
Use?
Effect.
Exactly. So I need to import my use effect. So import use effect. Okay. I don't need use state here at all. Why? Because I have my store. Okay, what else do I need to import here? So of course I need to import use dispatch and use selector, because whenever I want to dispatch an action or whenever I want to grab some value from the state, I need to use these two hooks. Okay, so use dispatch and use selector. What else I need? What else I need? I told you here I need something else in if I go to futures and I go to users, I'm exporting something here, right? That's my API, right? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't need extra reducer in case here, but I will need my API. So let's import my API. So what was the name of my API? So I need to say import fetch user. It's coming from Redux. Actually, no, that's not correct. It's actually coming from // future user slice. Yes. So I have my API, I have used dispatch and use selector, and I have used effect. So let's try to render my data. But how can I render my data? First, let me grab the dispatch. How can I make the dispatch? Well, I need to execute my use dispatch, and I need to use it in a variable. We name it dispatch. That's fine. Now, the other one, now I need to grab the users. I need to grab the loading. I need to grab the error. How can I do that? How can I grab the user from my state? I need to use
Selector.
So now I need my user. So I can just say const users. No, it should be lowercase actually. Const users. And of course, user, I need to use selector, and I have to take state by default. So I need state dot users dot user. Now you tell me why dot user dot user? Because if I go to my store, where's my store? I give it the property users. And that's the reason here. So it will be state dot this property dot the value I added to my state, which was user. If I go back to my state here, I give it value user. And that's the reason why it's user dot user dot user. I need also the loading. So const loading, it will be state dot user dot loading, and I need the error message. So const error, it will be state dot user dot error. Now I need to render my component conditionally. Can anyone remind me how can I render my component conditionally? Yes. So first, let's do the loading. Loading, I don't have any loader, like really component, but I will add just a text. So come on. So let me just do this one, and I will just add this one. So loading. So if the loading is true, by default, it's false, right? If it's true, then I'm gonna show just this one here, loading. I need to render the error message, the same idea. So error, if I have an error, it will just log the error for me in this P tag. Remember the error was what? What was type of data in the error? What was type of data in error? What was type of data?
Empty string.
Empty strings, that means it will be string. Because it's string, I can render it inside the React component. But if it's an object, I am not allowed. Okay, now I just need to do the users here. So how can I do a user? So I can create an order list like that. And inside the order list, I can map through the user. So I can just say users dot map. And here I can just map a single user. And for each, I'm going to create this one here. Li, the key, it will be user.id. And I'm just showing the username. For now, only the username. If I want to add more property, I can. If I want to, for example, username, and then user, let's say email, for example. User.email. Because I know now when I fetch the user, I have name and email, as you know. That should be fine. Now I have a problem, of course, because I don't have my data. What should I do? Any idea what should I do? What should I do?
Use effect.
Yeah, now, so what I can do here, I can use my use effect. So let's use our effect. Use effect, now I will try to send a request to the backend. Of course, when my page is, when this component is being reloaded or being added to the DOM, it will send a request to the backend to get my data. But how can I send a request to the data? I can dispatch this guy here, fetch user. So and dispatch, that means I will trigger the function. So, but how can I do that? Well, it's super simple. I just need to say dispatch and fetch user, as you can see, that's fetch user, and I need to execute it. Simply like that, nothing else. And of course, here now React hook here is complaining because it's missing dependencies dispatch. Why is that? Because you need to add the dispatch here as a dev dependency. That means whenever the dispatch happens, whenever you trigger this event, which will be fetch user, it will just send a request to the backend to get the data. And that's it. So let's try to go to our component and see if that's working or not. Did I add the user to my component? I did not add user. So let me import the user. It's called user, right? Users. And now all I have to do now, I have to render the user here. Click. And voila, as you can see, refresh. Now, as you can see, my state, it become a little bit complex. Why? Because now I have different slice. I have the counter, its value is 0. I have the cake, as you can see, as the number of cakes 20. I have users, and inside users here, I have the error message, as you can see, empty string. I have the loading, which is false now. And then I have users, which show me the 10 users. Now I want to go back in time a little bit, because as you can see, user, fetch user, the binding happened first. So the binding happened first. Why? Because simply, I take some time to go to the backend to get this data. So binding, then fulfill. So let me go back in time. Binding, click. So as you can see here, the loading now is be true. You see, Agnieszka?
Yes.
So here, the reason why I add, if I go back here, the reason why I add the loading false, because here I'm controlling it depending on the promise status. So if the promise status is pending, that means whenever my page is loaded, I'm sending a request, then I will make the loading true. I don't really need to make it true. I mean, you can make it true if you want to, but then again, I make it true here and I make it false here. Only when my promise is pending, that means when we're trying to fetch the data, it will be true. Other than that, it will be false.
So why before we used at the beginning the default true?
Because, but I can make it true as well. It's not a problem here. So let me make it true. So it's not big deal, actually. I can make it true if I want to. Let's go here and let's refresh. Same idea, nothing different. Let's go back. Let's go back. And now loading, as you can see, same idea, same result exactly. Okay. So there's no real difference, because why? I am controlling the binding depending on my promise status here. So if it's true or false, it doesn't matter. But if it's false here, it really doesn't matter, because only when it's binding, I'm making it true. If it's fulfilled or rejected, I will not make it true.
Like,
Okay.
for example, if we create a button and when we click the button, then we will load the people with the email. So then it's necessary to put loading false at the beginning because it will
Right.
be not
No,
when
no.
the page is refreshed, but when we click the button.
Yeah, because what's happening here, just when I refresh the page, directly it's become, so when I refresh the page, it's directly it's loading until I get my data, then it will be finished. So now let's just see the other case. Now, what if I add some gibberish like that? So what will happen? Of course, I will see my error message, as you can see. Request failed with status code 404. That means it does not exist. That means my API, my Redux Toolkit API is working perfectly. Okay? Users, if I'm not mistaken. Question? Let's try to get something else. And now I'm repeating the same stuff. Why? Because I want you to get used to it. Because it's really, how can I say it, is more than you know how to use the library. You just need to get used to it. Other than that, it's quite simple. Let me go to JSON placeholder. JSON placeholder. Voila. If I go to JSON placeholder, and I already fetched the user, so let's try to fetch, for example, comment. I want post because it's a little bit less 100, so posts are okay. Fine. So let's do the same job exactly like we did here, and let's try to fetch our post here. It was post, if I'm not mistaken. So what was the first step? And now, of course, you need to help me. What is the first step? Yes. Okay, I'm listening.
Create new feature.
So I will create a new folder and I will name it what I'm trying to fetch.
Posters.
Posts. So I'll name it posts. Okay.
Okay.
Because I think it's post, if I'm not mistaken. So new folder, I'll just name it posts like that, and voila. Okay, now inside post, now I need to create my slice, right? So I'll name it posts slice. So that's convention. All the time I need to add slice at the end. So it's suffix. It's just a convention. Okay, fine. After I do that, now what do I need to do? I need to import some stuff, right? What do I need to import? And remember, I'm sending a request to the backend, so it will be a sync task. So I need to import first create slice, right? Create slice. And also I need to import
async thunk.
So create async. So if you just type create async, it will show you. Where is it? Create async thunk. Fine, so I imported two stuff. Why? Because now I'm trying to send a request to the backend. Whenever the task is async task, I need to use this create async thunk. That's how Redux Toolkit work. Fine. Now I need to create my API, let's say. And of course here I need to export it because I know I need to use it in another file. So I will just export it directly. And I can just say const fetch, what should we name it? Posts, right? Fetch post, and here I need to use my function, which is create redux thunks. Create redux thunk. I take two parameters. First, I need to name it. So I give it some name. So the name here, just like user, I will name it posts slash fetch posts. You can name it whatever you want to, by the way. Fetch post with capital B. And then here's the second parameter, what it will be. Can anyone remind me? What is the second parameter? Come on, guys.
Function.
It's a function. This function need to be
Async.
Async, because I'm trying to send a request to the backend. So async, voila. Okay, now what should I do? I need to use Axios because I'm planning to use Axios. So I import Axios from Axios. All I have to do now, I need to say const response, so const res, it's equal to await. And here I will need to use axios.get. And I'm not sure if the URL is correct, but I'm going to use it. I think it's correct. Now, after that, I need to return something. What should I return? Res.data. So return res.data. I will not worry about try and catch here because Redux Toolkit handle this internally. I don't need to worry about that. Okay, fine. I finished creating my API. Now I need to create my slice, right? So what should I name my slice?
Post slice?
Use post slice.
just like the name of my file here. So I will just name it const post slice, and here I need to create a slice. Create slice, take an object as a parameter. Post slice, yes. Now here, as I need to give it a name, so in the name here, I will just name it post. You can name it whatever you want. Posts. I need after that to add the initial state. So what will be the initial state? It will be an object, of course. And the initial state, I will have the same idea. Post loading here, I can make it true or false. It doesn't matter. We've seen it, but I'm making it false. And error, it will be just an empty string for now. Is there any problem here? Yes, no?
No, it's fine.
Do I have reducer or not?
No extra reducers.
Yes, because I'm dealing with async task, so I don't have a reducer, but I have extra reducer. So what is extra reducer, guys, here? So the extra reducer is a function, and it take one parameter, which is called builder, like that. And voila. And now, of course, now I can here add different case to my builder, depending on the status of my promise. Remember, this one here is this guy here, it will be a promise. So depending on the status of the promise, and as you know, we have 3 different status of the promise. We have bending, that means still I'm trying to send a request to the backend, or we have fulfilled, that means I got my data, rejected, I did not get my data, I get an error message. So let's use builder and add a case. Builder.add case, and the first case, it will be bending. And now here, the second parameter, of course, it will be my function. So I need to pass a function here, just like reducer, if you remember. And this function takes state by default. And now what do I want to change when my promise is bending? What do I need to change? Should I change the post, the error, or the loading?
The loading.
I should just change the loading. So state.loading is equal to true. Then I will say builder.add case, which will be fetch post.fulfill. When it's fulfilled, I will receive, I need 2 parameters, the second parameter actually, state and payload. And after that, all I have to do, I need to change my post to action.payload. And the loading must be false, and the error message, it will be an empty string. So do the same here. As you can see, builder.add case, fulfill, I have state and action. The post here, it will be action.payload. The loading, it will be false, and the error message, it will be empty string. The third case here, it will be when my promise is rejected. I will still have state and action. Of course, my post here, it will be an empty array. Loading, it will be false. And my message here, it will be action.error.message. Okay? It's the same exactly like we did before. Oh, voila. Any problem here? Any problem?
No.
Okay, good. Now I need to export something and import it inside my store. What was this something? I need to export it as a default. And we name it post slice.reducer. So I need to add this one here to my store. And for this guy API, I need to use it inside my component. So first, let's import this one to my store. So let me go to my store. Where is my store? Here. And I will name it, yeah, post reducer. So import post reducers. No, it's post actually with S. Reducer, and I need to import it from future /future/post slice. And I need to add any property. We'll name it post. Same idea. My job is done here. I don't have anything else to do. Now I need to go to my component. Click. What is my component? It's here. Let's create a new component and name it posts. Post.gsx. What should I import in post.gsx? Can anyone remind me? I need to send a request to the backend, so I will need use
effect.
So I will need use effect. So I need to import use effect. Voila. I will also need to use dispatch and use selector because I need to access my data and I need to dispatch an action. So I need both those. And also I need to import something else. What it was? My API, right? Yeah, right now?
Yes.
So what was the name of my API? Well, it was fetch post, and I imported from Redux. That's not correct. So I need to import it from /futures/posts/post slice. Okay, now I have all my stuff. So let me create my component ARA FCP. I don't need all this prop type and stuff like that. I don't need all of that. So let's get rid of this one. I don't need any props. Same idea now. I need to use dispatch. So I can just say const dispatch is equal to use dispatch. So const dispatch it's equal to use dispatch as normal. Now I need to access the posts. I need to access the loading and I need to access the error message. How can I do that? How can I do that?
Use selector.
Use selector, it take a function as a parameter, and it receives a state, then I need to say state dot posts to get the post, or state dot post dot error, or state dot post dot loading. Okay, so let's go here, and here I just need to say const posts. Actually, I can structure it this way, by the way. It's much better here. Now here posts here, because it will be posts dot post or post dot loading or post dot error, I can just destructure it because it will be an object. So I can destructure the three like that. It will be much easier actually. Okay, I've destructured all of that. And now what I can do here, I can render my component conditionally, even before I send a request. So let me render conditionally. How can I do that? First, let's deal with the loading. So of course, if the loading is true, then I'm gonna just show this paragraph with loading, blah, blah. Error message, if error message, I'm gonna show the error message. Remember, the error message is a string. And later on for post, if the post is correct, I can create an order list like that. Same we did with users, so I need to map through them. As you can see, I'm mapping through my post. Actually, let me write it here. So posts.map. And as you know, map take a function as a parameter. So I will have one post. And in here, I need to return something, as you know. So what do I need to return? Well, I need to return an LI. Let's say for each, I will return an LI like that. And in this LI, I will put my post. I don't know what property we have in the post. Can anyone check what property do we have on the post? We have title. Let's add title, post title. And of course, here React is complaining because I don't have a key. So let's add our key. Do I have an ID? Post.id. Yes, I have an ID. So let me add the ID because I know it will be unique. So I have posts.id. Voila. So I'm rendering my stuff conditionally. Now I need to use state, as you know. Of course, to use state here all the time, I will just say use state. I'm sorry, use effect, not use state. Use effect, take two parameters. The first parameter, it is a function. As the second parameter, it will be array of dependency. And the array of dependency here, whenever we are dealing with this type, we need to put the dispatch here. And we are putting the comma. So dispatch, that means when I send the request to the backend. And now I can also dispatch my fetch post here and everything should be okay. Remember, fetch post here is the function. So when I dispatch it, dispatch means that means I'm firing it and I need to execute it. And voila. Same idea. So let's try go here. Let's go here. Where is my application? Click. Of course, it will not work. Why is not working?
App.js.
Am I importing it here? Am I importing posts? No, if I'm not importing it, of course, it's not going to work. So now I'm importing it, and now it will work. Let's go here, and voila, as you can see, that's my post. Of course, that's my users, and that's my post. And here, if I look at my state now, I have 4 slides. And as you can see, the post, I have posts, I have a loading, I have error, and so on. Is the idea clear?
Yeah, but I have one question. If I want to fetch only one post, then I need to write a reducer.
So if you want to fetch one post, what you need to do, you can create a reducer, but now let me go to my component here, post, for example. So what you need to do here, you need to pass the ID here. So when you receive the ID here in fetch post, you will just go inside your post, for example, here, and then you will receive it inside this guy here, this function. You will receive it here.
Yeah.
When you receive it here, you can just now say /ID and you will receive the same data. But of course, your data, it will be different because here you will not have post array, you have post object.
Yeah, but I need to change everything from here, right? Reducer, in the reducer.
So you will use one of them to send so here what I need to change, it will be just here, I need to /ID, which I receive it, okay? And then here I need to change this guy here from post to one post, and it will be an object. And then here I need to change them the same idea. From payload, it will be the same idea. Those, it will be the same idea. Nothing will change. And in my component now, whenever I fetch this guy, I need to add my ID here, comma ID, because I want to send a request each time I change the ID. And I'll pass my ID here.
Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah.
Any question related to Redux toolkit? Let me stop recording.